Now, we started this series a couple weeks ago, and we'll do a couple highlights here to get everybody caught up on it. But when we started teaching about spiritual warfare and fasting, we were beginning to teach into what we have here in Daniel 10:10, that two-kingdom system. And we were beginning to talk about how we know that ourselves, we are spiritual beings inside a physical body. We understand that there is a spirit world on the other side that you cannot see, that you cannot physically work into. But there is also the spiritual, there's the physical side and there's the spiritual side. And as we begin to cover in all these things there, that spiritual side that is there, you have the ability to operate, as you have the capabilities to move into those areas because you were created by God. And God created you with the ability and the capabilities to begin to operate and move over in that spiritual realm. Now, spiritual realm, everything that happens on the face of this earth first must happen over there and begin to manifest itself there so it can begin to manifest itself here. Now, we begin to think of how hard this must be for us to begin to move and to operate and begin to begin to speak things on that other side for it to begin to happen and take root and for it to begin to work for us. And we begin to think how hard this must be. But see, as we learned, when we were sitting down in the first session, we were talking about it, that all we had to do is pray, believe, and receive. You got Yeshua, you're Holy Ghost filled, you speak in tongues, you have the power of the Ruach HaKodesh and the name of Yeshua inside of you. And all you have to do is go out there and begin to sit down and pray, believe, and receive. Now, so many of us, when it comes down to it, as we were sitting there and we were beginning to sit down and look at Daniel, when that angel came to him and says, it took 21 days, I had to fight the fight over here. And we were talking about princes and principalities and powers and the things of this world. And he says, I had to fight for 21 days, but I've come to collect your words. What would have happened to Daniel if he gave up on day 21? See, so much of this for us is going to start with faith. Because it says without faith, it's impossible to please the Father. Without even faith, you can't even please God. And so many of us are running around a lot of times. We're praying one thing over here, and as soon as we get done praying what it is that we're praying, we're saying the exact opposite of what it is that we prayed. And then we're going, I prayed for this over here, and now that I'm done, I hope that it works. I hope that it comes through. We were covering in those areas, begin to realize that there's a fight that has to happen on that other side. The thing about that fight is you're not the one fighting the fight. The angelic forces are doing all of the heavy lifting. They're the ones that are packing the lunch and going out there and doing the work every day. And all we've got to do is pray, believe, and receive. And when those things happen on that side, it will begin to happen for us on this side. And see, the thing about it is over here for us, we don't see so many things for many of us that are happening in the way that they should. A lot of that for many of us, especially in the church world, is because of wrong teaching and wrong believing. They'll talk the talk, but they can't walk the walk because they've never had it where they're out there that they can begin to do those things, and that prayer that they said every day was more than just, I hope I get lucky. There's a spiritual battle that you're fighting every day. There's spiritual warfare that you're involved in when you pray. And it's about you sitting down and having faith and beginning to realize that you have the ability to speak into that world and that spiritual realm. But first, in order for it to happen for you, you have to learn to speak into the supernatural world. You can't just go out there willy-nilly and do whatever. You have to learn to begin to do these things. You have to learn how that world operates. You have to learn that there's rules and things that are in place on that other side. See, the thing about it is we have to understand is you are going to be an overcomer because that is what God created you to be. He created you to be an overcomer. But in order for you to do that, you must learn to speak into that world there and understand that what you're capable of doing over there, and then once you've done it, once you begin to speak over there, how to act after you've operated into that world. Because, again, it comes down to so many of us, I pray for this. And then as soon as we get done, I sure hope that worked. Beginning to realize how that operates. Let's start today in 1 Corinthians 1, 26 through 28. For ye see your calling, brethren, how that not many wise men after the flesh, not many mighty, Not many noble are called. Understand what Paul is talking about here. He's referring to people that operate into that spirit world, into that spiritual world that's there. Not many wise men after the flesh. See, dealing over in that spiritual world is not done through your strength. Dealing over in that supernatural world is not done with your mind. Again, your spirit and a fleshly body. God hath chosen, let's go down to verse 27, but God hath chosen the foolish things of the world to confound the wise, and God hath chosen the weak things of the world to confound the things which are mighty. See again, God had chosen the foolish things to confound the wise. And base things of the world and things which are despised hath God chosen, yea, and things which are not, to bring to naught things that are. Notice that last part there in that verse of 28. Things which are not, to bring to naught things that are. Now that word not, N-O-U-G-H-T, means to bring to zero. So what you're doing is, when you're in there speaking onto that other side, and you're beginning to plant it over there for it to begin to manifest itself over here, you're speaking things that are not as though they are. And then the situations and what you're dealing with here in your life here, you're speaking to it for it to go away and diminish itself to zero. The circumstances, the financial things that you're dealing with, being sick, being broke, being depressed, whatever it is, you're beginning to operate over there in order for it to change over here. Now it talks about the wise men. See, the guys that are wise are going after the fleshly things. The guys that are wise, a lot of times people that are really, really, really smart, PhDs and doctors and things like that, they can understand that there's God, and they can understand they've got to go to church, but they're the ones that have the hardest time beginning to think about and move in those areas. Because let's talk about common sense for a minute. None of this stuff here in the supernatural world, you don't need common sense. None of it makes sense anyway if you think about it on this side that we're in right now. Think about it this way. You have cancer. Doctor tells you. You say, no, doctor, I do not have cancer. Now, you've heard it. The doctor knows you have cancer. He's got your test results. Everybody around you is sitting there. Everybody around you knows you have cancer. But here you're telling them that, no, I do not have cancer. I am not bringing that forth into fruition at that time. And because you're refusing to speak it, because you understand that if you speak it, you're planting a seed for it to happen. So you say, no, I don't. Being able to sit down and do that doesn't make any common sense at all. It's kind of like when it comes to healing. The hands are laid upon that person, and the Word of God begins to work, and in the name of Yeshua, and they're healed. That makes no sense to anybody. How does that happen? Because the world teaches us, and what it is that we deal with, you've got to go to the doctor, you have to have tests ran, you have to do this, you have to do that. You have to do all of these things that make sense. But dealing in this kind of stuff, it doesn't have to make common sense there for it. It confounds the wise. See, we're going to have to begin to move past those things of going to the doctor and taking shots and getting this and getting that. Now, our doctor's good, yes. It's a good thing to go to the doctor. But we're going to have to begin to sit down and learn, as in what it is, the herbs of the field. And here's why. There's things that God created that are out there for you to sit down and eat, for you to drink, for you to add to your food, or whatever it is to make you healthier. Now, think about it in this way. When everything hits the fan here, and whenever it does hit the fan, whether it's tomorrow, next month, or next week, or next year, or 5 years down the road, but when everything finally hits the fan, as we know this fixing to go out and fixing to happen with this world that we live in, and the financial system, and everything that's going on right now. When you're sick, do you think you're going to be able to go to the doctor and just walk on in and get the shot, your medication, and the little pill bottle that you're going to have a prescription for? What are you going to be able to do when you can't do that anymore? What are you going to do when that's no longer readily available for you? Oh, that's okay. I'll just hop in the car and I'll just drive up to wherever and I will go see Prophet. And Prophet will lay hands on me. What's going to happen when you can't do that? What's going to happen that you just can't go and travel and be free and do those kind of things? You're going to have to be able to sit down and learn to operate and work in those areas. See, what we're talking about here, for us, it's very important for us to understand that we are going to have to be able to learn to work in the miraculous. It's time for us to grow up and to begin to walk in the power of the Ruach HaKodesh that we've got inside of us. And I do mean walk. I don't mean stumble. I don't mean be all wavery like a 1-year-old learning to walk. I don't mean crawling. But we're going to be able to stand up and be able to walk and be able to sit down and walk in that and begin to live in the miraculous and be able to do those things. Now, how is that possible for you? Because you've been made in the image of God. You are a spirit being locked up into this fleshly body. This body here that's too short, too tall, too fat, too skinny, do whatever it is, hurts, feet too big, nose too big, feet too small, whatever it is, that body that you've got, you have a spirit being that is locked up inside of this body. And that spirit being is being held down by the flesh. Now, God being God made us all unique. And thank God that He did. Can you imagine sitting there every day and staring at somebody who looks just like you every day, millions and millions of people just like you, sound like you, walk like you, operate like you? God made us all different. And in doing that, He made us all different. He made us all unique. He made us all a free will being. And in doing that, God was also doing something else. He was beginning to allow us now. See, many of us came from the church world. I always call it the church world. Many of us came from the church. It didn't matter the denomination. And God moved you from that into this to begin to teach you some things and for you to begin to learn. Now that God has brought us into one place, which is here, He's beginning to take us into another place. Oh, you mean, no, I don't mean we're leaving. What I'm talking about taking you into another place is now for you to begin to go from where you're at right now in your life spiritually and taking you to a whole other place that you can begin to operate and begin to grow up. Because you are in the dawn of a brand new age with God. And in that brand new age that you're in, it's about you learning to grow up and you learning to live in the miraculous. That when you do things and you pray, that you know that it's going to happen. See, we're coming to a time that God is going to demand that His children live in the miraculous. Now, you all ever listened on a lot of the CDs. The prophet talks about it on numerous quarterlies. Of that time when he was sitting there and he had the vision, and he was there at his dining room table with the family, and it was Shabbat time for meal. But there wasn't any food. All the cupboards were bare. So he sat there and he did the Hebrew prayers, did the things that they were supposed to do, opened his eyes, and bam, everything was sitting right there in front of him, all the food. Big feast laid out. And God was telling him, and God told him, you are going to have to learn to live in the miraculous. See, that's the way that it's going to have to be in these last days for us. You're going to have to be able to operate and move into those places and not ever have that second guess of will it work or how will it work or can it work. Just know that it will work. See, we're coming to that time right now. We all know about it, and you'll hear about it every once in a while, but we're coming to that time of the mark of the beast. And that has great complications to you and to I and to the church. See, the fact is, for many people, they haven't quite grasped or come to terms yet that they are going to have to go through all of this right along with us. So you're telling me that God's not going to come down and yank us up out, and we're going to ride up there in the clouds and be all happy and go lucky, and everybody else that didn't believe in the tribulation is going to sit right here and just have a hard time with it? Yeah, that's not going to happen. And because of that, what ends up happening for all these people that are out there that believe that they're going to get taken out. They're going to get taken out and they did not prepare. What's going to happen to them? Think about the complications for those type of people that are there that don't realize that they're going to have to go through all these things that are there. See, the reason the church world has never been able to grasp on or think about it is because the church world has never had a real prophet to sit down and tell them what the mark of the beast is all about. And the reason the church is not telling its people the truth about the rapture and all these other things, and hey, you need to be out there, you need to get prepared, you need to be doing this, you need to be doing that, is because, hey, they didn't know the truth themselves. They didn't have the answers to tell the people. When it comes to going out there and beginning to prepare, and you know you're going to have to go through some things. So you're going to have to go out there, and you're going to have to make sure that you're getting your stuff laid out and prepared. And prophet has always talked about, even with this bird flu thing that's coming now, if you're watching the news, you're starting to see more and more that's come up. And it's starting to hit home a little bit because, hey, how many turkeys and chickens do we have to kill here just last month in the United States? And now they're talking about a shortage. There's going to be an egg shortage. We're talking 5, and they could possibly be up to $10 for a dozen eggs. Think about this. If a dozen eggs cost $10, what else do eggs go into that's also going to go up? Your foodstuffs and all bakery goods, all breads, all those kind of things. The cost of that's going to go up. See, we've been instructed to prepare, get ready, because we know that things are going to happen. The key to it is if you go out there and do everything it is that you possibly can do, and you make sure you're doing all these things and you're stocking up and storing up and doing all the stuff that Prophet has been instructing us for all these years to do. You know the great thing about it is, the key to understand is in all this, God always takes care of his kids. God will always make sure that you're taken care of. But see, in order for that to happen, you're going to have to understand some things. And number one is how to begin to work into that spiritual realm and how to begin to walk and live into the miraculous every day. The key for us in being taken care of is for us to be taken care of is to know that God will take care of me, and through intercession, I will take care of mine. What we have to understand is how darkness works. And the way darkness works is the devil never comes kicking in your front door and blowing you out the back, does he? No. Darkness is subtle. Darkness is sneaky. Darkness will come at you, and once you start to back off because you begin to rebel in the name of Yeshua, they'll back off a little bit. And then darkness will come back at you again, and you'll rebel a little bit in the name of Yeshua, and he'll back off again. But what he's going to be doing is he'll keep coming back at you and keep coming back at you and keep coming back at you. And what he's doing is he's looking for the chinks that are in your armor. Until you shore that area up, he's going to keep hitting that and keep hitting that. But see, what is happening now is the powers of darkness right now, they're just biding their time so they can begin to move into those areas that we read about in the book. We're beginning to enter into that time. See, again, we have to understand that a lot of things that the government has always wanted to do and hasn't been able to do is because of people like us, Christians. I don't mean the Christian that goes to church on Sunday. I don't mean the one that goes in there and blows the dust off his Bible every Sunday and only reads that one verse that's pinned up on the wall because the preacher gave it and then closes it back up and never prays, never fasts, never meditates on the Word, never studies anything. I mean the Christians that pray, they fast, they study, they meditate, they read God's Word, they live in God's Word, they devour it, and they stand upon God's Word. That's the people that are keeping things from happening right now. But soon we're moving into that time where darkness won't be biding its time anymore. It'll begin to operate and move. We're entering into that time. 2 Corinthians 4:13. We have in the same spirit of faith, according as it is written, I believed, and therefore have I spoken. We also believe, and therefore speak. Same faith. You have that faith. I have that faith. That's the same faith that we have, that we know that if I speak it and believe it, it's going to happen. Now, verse 14. Knowing that he which raised up the Lord Jesus shall raise us up also by Jesus and shall present us with you. For all things are for your sakes, that the abundant grace might through the thanksgiving of many redound to the glory of God, for which cause we faint not, but through our outward man perish, yet the inward man is renewed day by day. For our light affliction, which is but for a moment, worketh for us a far more exceeding and eternal weight of glory, while we look not at the things which are seen, but at the things which are not seen. For the things which are seen are temporal, but the things which are not seen are eternal. See, again, it's not what you can see, it's the things that you can't see. Everything that happens over in that supernatural side is eternal. And for those of us that God has empowered by His anointing to be able to understand and begin to work over and begin to operate over into that other side, into that other world, we understand there's something different over there in that world. And we understand that what happens over there on that spiritual plane over there plays itself out over here. It plays itself out into this world. See, you don't have the control that you think that you have. So many of us think we got it all. We know it all. We operate in it, and we have the tiger by the tail. Okay? But see, for many of us, we go past the praying, the believing, and the receiving, and we get right down to the part that's going as far as saying, I don't think this will work. You spend that time in prayer. You spend all that time on the, working and doing those things, and as soon as you get done, I don't think it'll work. But see, as long as you do what it is that you've been told to do, and what you've been told to do is the only part that you play in operating over there is to pray, to believe, and to receive. God will take care of the rest of it. It's the angelic forces that are over there doing the battle. The angelic forces that are out there packing the lunch and doing the heavy lifting, the heavy work. So many times we think we've done all this stuff, and all you had to do is pray, believe, and receive. That's all we have to do. That's the hard work that you have to do. Pray, believe, and receive. Let's go to Romans 4:17. As it is written, I have made thee a father of many nations, before him who he believed, even God who quickeneth the dead, and calleth those things which be not as though they were. Do you understand calling those things which are not as though they are? It's about speaking it and believing that it's going to happen. See, God always operates in object lessons for us. Why? Because we're in school. I love what the prophet was talking about, his healing ministry that he has. And he does it. And so God was telling him one day, he says, look, until you see them at the point where the guy in the wheelchair is pushing the wheelchair down and sitting down, that's when you really know it'll begin to happen. So he's talking about the church service that he was doing, and all of a sudden here comes all these people in wheelchairs and crutches and things like that. And then it happened. He saw that person pushing the wheelchair down that needed to be healed. He knew. Because again, you have to begin to see things. You have to begin to see things knowing that they're going to happen. So many of us get so tied up in the circumstances that are around us that when God is beginning to try to teach us an object lesson, because we're in school. You're in school all the way up in the time that you die and stand before him. Your diploma is hoping that he says, well done, my good and faithful servant. Not, I was hoping you could have done a little bit better. Okay? We're in school. Graduating is when you die. You should always be learning, should always be growing. And all these things, for so many of us, we're so tied up into the circumstances that are around us that we cannot see past, excuse me, we cannot see past the circumstance. We can't see past the being sick. We can't see past the being broke. We can't see past the empty bank account. We can't see past the mountain that's in our lives every day. We're always so busy staring at the circumstance. See, one of the things about ministry is there to feed the people. And that's one of the things prophets always said. Ministry is there to feed. And you're being fed, because if you're being fed, you're out there learning something. If you're out there learning something, you're out there applying something. Ministry is there to feed the people, not to put on a good praise and worship service so you'll show up next week, or, give you a nice, cozy, warm, make you feel good, warm all over teaching so you come back next week and put money in the plate. Do you understand the calling those things which are not as though they are? That is God's method of calling the eternal forces and putting to naught things. Now, not, N-O-U-G-H-T, not, making it zero. Your ability to go out there and begin to speak over into that side over there, waiting for it to play itself out over there, to play it and work itself out over here. Taking these troubles and these circumstances in your life and watch them go to naught and shrink. Many of us aren't out there denying that these things exist. What I mean by that is real simple. I'm sick, I'm broke, I'm depressed, I got cancer, I got this, whatever it is. We go out there and do these things. We go out there and do these things, and we don't go out there and deny that these things exist in our lives. No, but we sure will agree with it that we're sick, we're broke, we're depressed, we got this, we got that, whatever it is. We don't have a problem agreeing with it. What you have to learn is you have to be able to go out there and deny that those things exist. God has rules to be able to begin to move out and operate in those areas. first is you have to be able to speak it in order for it to materialize. You have to realize what takes place in the spirit world. That's rule number 2. You have to realize what takes place into that spiritual realm. You have to understand your place in this, and you have to understand God's place in this. You have to understand that God runs it all. God controls it all. He will do all the things it is that God is supposed to do, and all you have to do is pray, believe, and receive. See, Abraham, he acted as God acted. Now, was Abraham the father of many nations at that time? No. Did Abraham act and speak like he was? Yes, he did. Because it hasn't happened yet don't mean that it won't happen. And he understood that, and he acted in the way that God acted. Why? Because so a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So again, how do you see yourself? Now, that's the tough question. You go through that spiritual look-back stuff. How do you see yourself? Do you see yourself broke? Do you see yourself sick? Do you see yourself depressed? Do you see yourself financially well off? Do you see yourself successful in business? How do you see yourself? See, that is all part of the psyche that brings you to who you are. That brings you to that place of what it is that you will be. And if you think if you sit down and think, well, I'm always broke, you'll always be broke. My family was in poverty, I'll be living in poverty too. My mama was always sick, I'll always be sick. My family was my mom and dad, they were alcoholics, means I'll be an alcoholic. Guess what? What you see yourself is what it is that you'll become. And here we are out there. These people go out there and they pay all this money for guys like Tony Robbins and the rest of these boys to tell them this. They paid hundreds and thousands of dollars to go do this, and all they had to do, guess what? Read the Word. That's all they had to do was read the Word to figure out what the source is that those guys are getting it. Being able to speak over knowing that it's going to happen. Be able to deny the circumstances in your life as if they don't exist. Getting to the point where they come to naught. See, again, the spirit that is in you is trying to work out for you the things that it is that you believe and that you're speaking. Now, here's something to think about. What you are speaking and thinking that it is, that's what it should be doing. So think about this. You're out there you're praying for finances, or you're praying for whatever it is over here. Your spirit man knows it. He's working for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to bring those things forward for you. And then you turn around here 5 minutes later and go, boy, look, honey, we're broke. I just don't understand. Bank account's messed up. I don't got no money. I just don't think this is going to work. Now he's confused. Remember, you have to understand, your words are powerful. Words are a creative force in your life. Understand, God spoke, let there be light. There was light. Your words are powerful. Your words have meaning. Your words are a creative force in your life. And if you're out here praying one thing and speaking one thing over here into the spirit world, and here on the fleshly world, this physical world that we're in, you're talking about how you're broke, sick, depressed, and it ain't ever working, you're not successful, you're not financially well off, I don't know what's going on, you are confusing your spirit man. Because it is out there trying to do the things that it is that you're asking it to do. Understand that you're the one that controls it. It does not dominate you. You dominate it. God gave you a free will. So here's your spirit man. Finally, he gets to the point, he throws the paper up in the air and says, okay, what is it that you want me to do? Are you going to be sick and broke and depressed? Are you going to be healthy, wealthy, and wise? I got to know which one it is because I'm the one doing the operating and making the work in these areas to get it for you. That's what your spirit man does. So when you go out there and you're saying one thing and then you're speaking something completely different, and because your words have meaning, your words have power, your words have a creative force in your life, don't confuse it. See, God didn't set that spirit man inside of you to dominate you. And we would think, oh, Prophet Mike, why can't, well, God gave it, why can't he just control and do everything and I just have to go with the flow? Because God made you a free will person, free will agent. And it's there, that spirit man is there for you to be you. See, the battles that we go through every day is what choices are you going to make? That's the battles we go through every day. What choices are you going to make? See, You get to make those choices. That's the best part about this whole thing. You have the ability to make choices. I love the way Prophet puts it. You will do whatever it is that you want to do. You want to come to Quarterly? You'll go to Quarterly. You want to go to Sukkot? You'll go to Sukkot. Whatever it is that you want to, hey, look at it this way. When you decide that, hey, I want a new house, and you figure out, you go out there and you put all the numbers together on the books on a piece of paper, and you figure out what it is that you have to do to go out there and get that house. And then you go out there and do it so you can obtain what it is that you wanted, which was that house. You have the ability to do whatever it is that you want to do. And that's exactly what you'll do. Oh, well, Prophet Mike, I couldn't make it to Quarterly last time because, it's just the stuff. Again, a lot of times we're so busy about nothing that we're not even busy about the things of God. Because we're over here busy about something else that has no meaning or no manner. When it comes down to it and you being that free will agent, you get to decide what it is that you're going to do. So you have to understand the power of darkness have no right over you once you become a born-again Christian. Once you become born again, you have severed his place with you. Because, again, the powers of darkness, Satan, he gets to rule and reign this world, doesn't he? And he gets to rule and reign all those people that walk in darkness. But once you go out there and you become born again and you sever that, he can't for you. And he knows it. But see, there's so many people that are out there that are walking in light, but there's still darkness there in them. Not the kind of darkness that's going to send you to hell, but it's the kind of darkness that is there that is going out there and is defeating you. Because, again, darkness will find many things, and there are many things that are out there that will find its way to steal, kill, and destroy from you every time. There are situations that do that to you. Because, again, as we said earlier, darkness is subtle. Darkness creeps in. Darkness will keep coming slowly but surely and collecting and going in there and finding your weaknesses and collecting your weaknesses to defeat you. The key for you to do is be able to go out there and understand that all of this is a process. And you control the process. You get to control all of this. All you have to do is learn how to begin to operate and move over into those areas so it can begin to work for you in your life. So when I start talking about coming to Quarterly, that's why it's important that you come to Quarterly. Because you come, you sit, you learn, you begin to accumulate things. You begin to accumulate knowledge. And then through that Word of God, which gives you wisdom in order to be able to use that knowledge. But see, that's why it's so important that we talk about, you go to jewishprophet.com, and on that product catalog, it's got 120 CD tapes, DVDs, all kinds of stuff that's all learning material for you. Now, earlier we talked about with God and give you object lessons that he's trying to teach you because you're in school. This is part of your curriculum. This is part of your textbooks that you have to go out there and get and sit down and study and take your notes so you can go out there and take the test. If you don't have the textbooks, you're going to fail your test. And that's what exactly this is for you. All this stuff that is there is stuff that will work, can work, and does work for you in your life. But in order for that to happen, first, you must begin to sit down and study it, take your notes, and learn how to begin to apply it in your life. So many people all the time are, this doesn't work in my life, and that doesn't work in my life, and this doesn't work. Okay, well, then the question is, what is it that you're doing? And then even a better question is what is it that you're not doing? Why is it not working for you in your life? There has to be something. You go in there and look, find out. The people that aren't out there praying, the people that aren't out there studying, the people that aren't out there meditating on the Word, people that aren't there out there fasting, it's not working because they're not applying anything in their life. In order for it to work for you, you have to begin to apply it. And when you apply it, it's going to happen for you to begin to work. So you have all that there for you. All you have to do is begin to go out there and do it. We talked about a minute ago. It's a process, and you control the process. Well, wouldn't it be good if you knew what the processes were that you were supposed to be controlling for it to begin to work for you? See, so many times we just think that because we're Christians, we got Jesus, we got it all. We don't have anything to worry about. It doesn't quite work out that way. Your stuff just started when you got Yeshua. You have to go out there and there's things that you're going to have to learn. And the best part about it is you'll never learn everything that it is that you have to know. You're constantly learning. Why? Because there's more tomorrows than there are todays. There's going to be more after that, and more after that, and more after that. So there's no such thing as I listened to the CD set, I took a set of notes, and now I know everything and I'm good. It's not like your favorite movie or video. You watch it once and that makes you good for however long. You want to constantly be studying that material. See, a lot of people, they'll sit there and do a real hard study into one of the CDs, the bigger CD sets, and they'll do a real hard study for 1 to 2 weeks. And then all of a sudden, ooh, that was a lot of work. I'm going to take me a break. And they'll take a week off or 2 weeks off. Then they'll decide again. Don't waste that time. We have to keep studying and applying these things in our lives. See, you never stop growing. So if you got the CD sets at home, and if you got spiritual warfare and fasting, you need to get that set, you need to sit down, you need to begin to start listening to it. And then begin to be able to understand and learn what it is. You know, for a lot of us, we have things in our lives that are going on. We can't understand why we can't get past the wilderness area in our lives that we're in. Then you get the Purpose of Temptation series. You sit down and study that. And then you'll begin to understand why that you're going through the things that you're going through in your life. So you'll begin to grasp onto that. See, all these teachings that are there are designed for you to begin to learn, and they all cover different areas and different things that you go through, but at the same time, they're all intertwined and they're all interchangeable. That's what I like about it. They're all interconnected. None of them stand out there on their own. But if you begin to apply these things, you're going to see changes in your life. You know what I love about that part? When changes happen in people's lives, besides the testimony they give because it's working, people around you notice that there's changes in you. People around you notice when you're having a good day or a bad day, when you don't feel good or when you feel okay or whatever it is. They notice these things. And then when you begin to apply these things in your life and God begins to bless you, they're going to come to you and ask you, why is it working for you like this? You know, I go to church every Sunday, twice a week. I put money in the plate. I help out in the daycare. And I don't understand why God is blessing you, but he's not blessing me. And then you'll be able to sit down and tell them, well, you know, here's what I did. I started keeping Sabbath and keeping New Moon. I started keeping the festivals. I started studying this material and applied it in my life. I started to keep all of the commandments of God, not just a few. I didn't start picking and choosing stuff anymore. And now the windows of heaven are opening up and blessings are falling upon me. Well, then they're going to come and go, well, I want to know more about that. And that's how it starts. You see, God blesses you so you can be a blessing to other people. God blesses you so other people around you will notice that you're being blessed, and they will ask you, how is it working? You'll say, God.